Welcome to Morningstar. I'm Larissa Fernand, and with me today is Christine Benz, the Director of Personal Finance and Retirement Planning at Morningstar. Christine has had a superbly busy schedule, so I'm extremely grateful for her being so generous with her time. Thanks, Christine. Lovely to talk to you.
Larissa, it's always wonderful to see you. Thank you so much.
So, Christine, my first question to you is that you have tremendous expertise in retirement planning. You've interviewed so many people, you've spoken to thousands of investors, they write into you. How has that shaped your perception? What is something about retirement that you have changed your mind about over the years?
Oh, so many things. And I think that we all need to be willing to change our minds about things. And so I try to actively receive new information and, look for viewpoints that are counter to my own. And I think that's a good practice for all investors. With respect to retirement planning, I would say that there have been a couple of key areas where I've changed my mind. One is in relation to what is called the financial independence retire early movement, the FIRE movement. It's kind of morphed, I would say, into being more of a financial independence movement. I hear fewer people talking about retiring, at the age of 35 or something like that. And I would say that that was an idea that I was sort of reflexively averse to because I have been lucky to be someone who really enjoys my job. And I don't think of my work as something to be just sort of gotten through so that I can, get on to my real life and, get on to enjoying life. I think I've been lucky in that I've had a job that has been very simpatico with the rest of my life. And it also has been incredibly gratifying. And there have been points of in my life where actually work has been a great solace to me in a way that I, maybe wouldn't have expected at the early part of my career. So it was something that I was kind of reflexively averse to, but the more I learned about it, the more I really do like the idea of people forging financial independence, thinking about it early. There are a lot of things that are very healthy about the movement, I think. So there's generally a focus on simplicity with respect to investment matters. Most of the FIRE adherents are focused on using broad-based index tracking funds to get market exposure. There's a frugality mindset that resonates with me, this idea of living within your means, not showing off. All of that I very much appreciate. So that was one kind of a retirement planning topic or thesis that I have warmed up to as I've gotten more familiar with people in that community. In terms of retirement decumulation, which is a big focus for me, where I talk and think about how do you retire? How do you extract your income from your portfolio when you actually step away from work? One thing that I have become more of a believer in is this idea of getting some sort of guaranteed income through some sort of an annuity type product where you are buying a stream of income that will last for the rest of your life. And these products are actually go back to ancient times, but the idea I think is very powerful for people looking to provide peace of mind in retirement. The key point I would make is that, a lot of people have annuities marked with a skull and crossbones. Like they just think they're all terrible products. And the truth is there are some terrible annuities. And I think this cuts across geographies. But there are also some really nice low cost annuity options. So securing that stream of non-portfolio income, I think, can provide a lot of peace of mind in retirement, which isn't to say you should get all of your income from some sort of an insurance product. I do like the idea of having a portfolio that lives side by side, that stream of guaranteed income, but I think a component of guaranteed income makes a lot of sense.
Do you think your personal circumstances impacted you? For example, you often talk about your dad, how you looked after your parents. Did that change your idea of risk or of a retirement or?
Well, I think, the experience with my mom and dad, both of whom encountered dementia at the end of their lives, made me very conscious of sort of the unhappy part of old age, I should say. that, if you have generally had a healthy life, you're going to live longer. And we know that cognitive decline very much syncs up with old age, that the older you are, the more likely you are to experience cognitive decline. So it's made me very conscious of that risk, and of making sure that I have a plan for care in case I need it later in life, and really evangelizing about the importance of thinking through some of those unhappy parts of old age, and helping people get comfortable with the risk. Unfortunately, in the US, those risks are largely shouldered by individuals. They're really, with the exception of Medicaid, which is a program that steps in to provide care for people if they have exhausted their resources. It basically, in order to qualify, you need to deplete your resources. So it's really kind of a black hole in retirement planning in the US. So I've tried to talk about making sure that people have a plan. Anecdotally, when I speak to groups of retired investors, this is an area that gives people a lot of angst. So I like to talk about it, think about it, tell people how to create a bulwark to protect their financial assets against the possibility of needing this type of care.
Do any of your investments give you a bit of angst or give you sleepless nights?
Not really. I am a little bit of an oddball, I would say, in that I have been very placid through periods of equity market turmoil. And one thing that has helped give my husband and me peace of mind is having kind of a barbell in our portfolio where we have typically a fairly healthy cushion of cash investments, probably larger than would be ideal from an investment return standpoint, because at least until very recently, yields on cash were very, very low here in the US. But having enough liquid reserves set aside gives us peace of mind with having a very equity heavy long-term portfolio. And we just tend to not spend a lot of time thinking about our investments. We're busy. We're busy working on other things, and it's just not a big topic of conversation for us.
Are you all similar in where to invest and how to invest? Do you all think alike on those terms?
Well, generally speaking, I will say, since this is my job, my husband is very deferential to me in terms of how we position our portfolio. I would say one area of difference is that perhaps he has a little more of an itch to scratch in terms of investing in individual stocks. And I think sometimes he is inclined to kind of read something like, maybe bonds are cheap or something like that. Whereas I tend to be incredibly hands off with our portfolio. I feel like as long as our asset allocation is reasonable, that we really just don't need to make changes or be adding things to our portfolio. So, generally speaking, that has been our pattern to be very, very hands off. He seems to be a little bit more interested in kind of these ripped from the headlines type investment moves, but we tend not to do a lot with those sorts of short-term investment moves.
Can you share an investment bias that you are very aware of, and how have you combated it?
Well, one, I think that gets so under discussed in the realm of investing biases is just that I am super inert. Like I don't do things, even with things that I know I should do something about. So, company stock, for example, it has been a great luxury that I've been able to receive company stock over the years. It has grown. I've tried to scale it back, but there are tax implications to scaling it back. So, just trying to overcome my natural bias toward inertia is an uphill battle where I'm busy doing a lot of things. I don't have time to spend on my portfolio. That probably is the biggest bias that I have. It's a tendency to do nothing. And generally speaking, it's been a pretty good tendency in terms of, being good for my portfolio, that being hands off has been additive probably to my portfolio results. But I think, as I age and start to think more seriously about retirement, I will need to skinny back some of the equity risk in our portfolio and will need to be a little bit more active in terms of selling appreciated securities.
Okay, what are the
Okay.
various facets of success according to you? And how much of a role does money play in your understanding of success?
So you mean success, broadly speaking, apart
Very
from
broadly speaking.
financial matter? So I think success really comes from having a sense of purpose, having something that you do that aligns with your values and what gives you a sense of having a role in this world. So I think that that is central to being human, that we have a reason for being. Everyone needs to identify that sense of purpose. And I was interviewing actually someone on this topic of purpose, and he said that there's a lot of sort of like purpose paralysis, that people think purpose needs to be, oh, you're setting up a family foundation, or you are spending 30 hours a week doing volunteer work or whatever, that people think that purpose needs to be, he called it capital P purpose. But there are ways to find kind of small p purpose in our lives, whether it's just being a great partner to your spouse, or being a great parent, or feeling like you're an active member of your community, whatever it is. So I think that that's a huge part of success. Also, relationships obviously contribute to success. When we look at the factors that contribute to human happiness, that is the top one. Underline it, put it in all caps. Having relationships that are meaningful is one of the key ways to find success and happiness in life. And I see money as being just kind of a support to those broader goals that someone might have, those broader purposes. It's a means to an end. It's certainly important. The more I know about financial matters, the more I know that our financial wherewithal is inextricably linked to our psychological well-being, as well as our physical well-being. So you need financial well-being, but I see it as kind of a means to an end rather than an end in and of itself.
I often have read you say something about your nieces or your friend's son came to you for advice. What is something you would like to tell a really young person who comes to you and says, I want to start off. What should I do?
Well, I would say get started, even if it seems like it's just a drop in the bucket, even if it's only a little bit each month that you're able to save. So get started, automate it. So make a habit out of it, and keep it simple with respect to your investment portfolio. It's one of those funny things where the more I know about investing, the more I'm inclined to urge people to just keep with an ultra simple portfolio. Don't try to overcomplicate things with very narrowly honed investments. Broad market tracking investments are a great way to approach a portfolio. And then last but not least, it's probably the most important thing, is just cultivate frugality in terms of your daily life. Like, identify those spending items that really give you joy, but cut away the rest, and don't be so focused on keeping up with what the people around you are doing. You don't know what is kind of underneath the hood in their financial lives. Really focus on the things that bring you joy and happiness, and don't be so focused on keeping up. And that's really a hard lesson to learn, especially for young people. I think when they're just starting out, there is a lot of that competition among peers to, sort of have the best job or the best car or the best apartment or whatever it is. But just to hop off that treadmill and focus on the things that really bring you a lot of joy.
Can you share some money advice that your parents shared with you that has carried you all through these years?
He said, just invest in that. Don't You don't need to be in the cash investment. You don't need to be in bonds at your age. Just be in stocks and be in a broadly diversified stock portfolio. So that turned out to be wonderful advice. I just took it on faith that that was what I should do. And my dad was always a stock investor. So that turned out to be great advice for a person in her early 20s, just kind of sorting out investing for the first time. In terms of more generalized advice, one thing my parents did very nicely by example was they modeled a lot of tranquility in terms of their financial life, in terms of their interaction with each other about money matters, that it really wasn't, that my parents certainly never, ever argued about money. They were very financially well people. And I don't mean that they were rich, but they were just comfortable people where everything was saved for and college was paid for thanks to them. And I think that they just modeled for me the tranquility that ideally you would have in your financial life. We didn't talk about money, which I think sometimes is cast as a negative thing. Maybe they talked about it between themselves, but it just wasn't a contentious topic, which is very much the role that I've wanted money to play in my own life. I think my husband and I have been able to carry that forward into our own relationship, where we've been, generally speaking, and we've been married longer than we were not married at this point, but we're very much on the same page with regard to money matters. And I will say he's made me better, that I've been willing to learn from him. And he's a little bit more of a naturally frugal person than I am. So anyway, I would say that that was something maybe my parents didn't know they were teaching me, but I was watching and learning from the way that they handled their financial affairs.
Oh, lovely. Christine, it's been great, really great talking to you. I thank you so much for your time.
Larissa, it's always wonderful to talk to you. Thank you so much.
This is Larissa from Morningstar. Thank you for watching.